Hi, it is Rebecca Reinking here, and there are two terms that I have come across when I've been doing the multiple oppositions approach that always confuse me. And I thought maybe if you are a student or a speech pathologist yourself and you have felt the way I have about the terms maximal classification and maximal distinction, I really hope that this video helps to explain it in a very SLP friendly way, because when you understand those two terms, and don't be scared by how complex they sound, it can really make such a difference, and it will give you a lot more confidence in what target sounds to choose when you're using multiple oppositions. Now, just as a quick recap, multiple oppositions is a phonological intervention. It is usually one you would consider when the child has a moderate to severe phonological impairment, and they usually show, when you've analysed the child's assessment results, a phoneme collapse, a preferred sound, a favoured sound, a sound preference. There are many different ways to describe this. I just like to think of it as the child really likes to use D for a lot of different sounds. Well, that child says G for everything. It's when you analyse your results and you see that, that's when I start to consider multiple oppositions, and I will map out how many sounds the child is substituting or saying D for. And I'm going to use D as our example today as we go through applying and understanding maximal classification and maximal distinction when using multiple oppositions. Now, with multiple oppositions, we have our child, they're saying D for, let's just say 15 different sounds, and we've got all those 15 sounds listed. And right now, our job is to go, well, what 4 sounds am I going to choose to contrast D with? Now, when you are in this planning stage and this analysing stage of choosing 4 sounds to contrast with D, this is where you are looking at maximal classification. Now, I'm going to pull up a place voice manner chart because I just am a visual girly and I just think it's going to help. Now, when I think about speech sounds, I think about how we classify them and what their features are. So I can take a sound like F and I can classify it in terms of its place of articulation. It's a labio-dental. I can classify it in terms of its voicing, it's voiceless, and also by its manner of articulation. It's a fricative. So when we are applying maximal classification, when we're thinking of this, maximal just being like the most different, and the classification in their features, I just like to think of, can we pick 4 sounds that are as different as possible to each other in terms of their features? That's just the simple way I like to think about it. So when I'm choosing these 4 sounds, I'm going to make sure I'm not choosing sounds that are all voiced or all voiceless. Nope, I want them to be different. I'm also going to make sure that I'm choosing sounds that are not all fricatives, okay? Or not even 3 fricatives and 1 plosive. I want as many different features as possible. Same as the place of articulation. So these 4 sounds, hopefully, all of their features are nearly as different as possible to each other. The reason why this is important is because if we have D and the child is saying D for 15 or 16 different sounds, whatever these 4 sounds are that we're choosing, we are hoping that we're going to inject some of these different features into this child's speech sound system. We're going to trigger some change. So I want a bit of fricativeness or affricate. I want some velars or labiodentals, whatever the child is doing that they don't have already. I want to make sure I'm using clusters or something like that. I want different sounds, as many different features as possible. I want these to be as different as possible for each other, because hopefully when we contrast that with D, we get a lot more change, and the child will trigger this big change in their speech sound system. Now, maximal distinction is really, really similar. We've got the maximal part, so we want them to be maximally or like very, very different. But it is in terms of D, or whatever that phoneme collapse sound is, okay? That's where the maximally distinct part is. So yes, we've made sure these are really, really, really different as possible. So for example, let's say F, G, CH and SL, okay? They're all so different from each other. But then I want to compare how different they are to D, and I want to make sure they're maximally distinct from D just before I go forwards. Okay, so again, I will be looking at those features. You can use a place, voice, manner chart. The other thing you could use is this phoneme collapse worksheet that Dr. Lynn Williams has really generously provided and is a free download on Adventures in Speech Pathology. I would be using one of these two to really make sure that when I'm planning and I'm looking at features, that these 4 sounds are different to each other, as different to each other as possible, but then they're as different as possible to D. So I know D is voiced, I know it's alveolar in terms of its place of articulation, and in terms of its manner, I know it's plosive. So I'm just going to be checking off, going, is that different to F? Yep, it's very, very different in all those place, voice, manner. How different is that to G? Well, okay, they're both voiced, and okay, they're both plosives, but it's a different place of articulation, which is alveolar, okay? So you might say, look, that's okay. Then when you look at CH, so we are just making sure when we're doing multiple positions that all the sounds are as different as possible to each other and to the collapsed sound so that we can inject the most change as possible into this child's speech sound system. So I hope that clarifies those terms. And I hope I've made it simple for you to understand. I will say I have used multiple oppositions so many times with my clients, and it really does help me to take about an hour to plan what my targets are going to be, because I really want to make sure I'm considering the maximal classification and the maximal distinction. So just allow yourself up to an hour to analyse your child's speech sample and to get your rough treatment sets ready, because you really want to ensure that you are set up for success. Now, if you want any more multiple oppositions information, don't forget to head to our website. We've got a whole page where we have journal articles, textbooks, free download worksheets, and then we have links to our Adventures in Speech Pathology flashcards for multiple oppositions as well. So once you have chosen those targets, you just have cards there that are ready to use and print. Now, if this video helped you understand maximal classification and maximal distinction a little bit more, please like and comment on this video to support us helping you feel more confident treating speech sound disorders.